call the meeting to order. Jen, will you take roll call vote, roll call please? Excuse me.
Commissioner Ware.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Shaw.
Here.
Commissioner Phil.
Here.
Mayor Denner.
Here. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or comments? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Ware.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Phil.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. We have, moving down to appearances acknowledgement, we have item number 1, Michael Johnson Trailer Court on Northwest 9th Street.
Well, thanks, Mayor and Commissioners. You're probably as tired of seeing me as I am beating my head against the wall on this issue. To start off, we've got cats, we've got vermin. There's still an issue. I finally got a hold of your animal control officer, and I said, you can set traps by my twin homes. And he caught, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 of them. But, we've got a problem up there, and it's not, I know you're trying to address it, and I appreciate it, but every time we go to mow the yards, we're actually picking up 10 to 20 piles. So, there's a definite problem up there. That's just a little part of it. I know that we've got at least 2 abandoned trailers there. They're not inhabitable. I know the lady just passed away. I knew her. I've talked to her. There were certain areas in her trailer that she can't even walk in because she'll fall through the floor, or she has fallen through the floor. I guess I could go on, but some of this we've covered in prior meetings. But what I don't understand as a resident is Madison has a city attorney, and why don't we use him a little more on this issue? This issue's been brought up months ago, and I guess I'm here, respectfully asking what is the city's game plan? What's their plan of action on this issue?
The 2 trailers you're referring to, and I got a message here that I wanted to bring up to the rest of them. There are plans of trying to get rid of those. There's some waiving of the back property tax, which I think the county's working on. And then the next thing is the demoing of the trailers right on site. But they have asked the city if we would be interested in helping them out to waive the fee for dumping at the restricted site use. So that's where we're at there. Probably springing this on these guys right now on waiving that fee. That's something we would like to entertain. I would put it on next week's agenda and we could vote on it.
That's fine, but I've had renters that have abandoned my property, and I've actually had roll-offs sitting at some of my properties to clean out. A roll-off like 25 yards, and we filled it up, but I paid my own bill. I'm a landlord, so I got to, toe the mark. Keep my property up. People pull this crap. Part of doing business. I don't ask for help.
I think there's some confusion on what our rights are when it comes to mobile homes. Mobile homes under South Dakota law are personal property. We are not allowed to go in and take tax lien mobile homes and dispose of them. That's why we need, and I know the mayor's working on this, we need the county to abate those taxes so that we can get rid of that property. There's also substantial cost, time, and effort involved in doing it. There's a third mobile home there that I brought an individual nuisance action against to either abate the nuisance or possibly remove the home completely. We've had increased patrols by the police department up there regarding litter. We've got the animal control officer involved there now when it comes to vermin. I would submit to you since 2011, I think that's about the time that I became the city attorney, maybe 2010, I have never seen a more concerted effort in one area to try to, quote, clean up the area. But these things take time. A nuisance action's in court. Abating taxes on mobile homes by the county doesn't happen overnight. Litter and vermin are an ongoing problem. You start, you have to continue with it. So there's unfortunately, I think, by Mr. Johnson's comments, there's something implicit in it that says that we're not doing enough or not doing it quick enough. We're doing a lot, and we're doing it really as quick as we can, and we're going to continue to do that. I think the mayor's also been pretty terrific in reaching out to the stewards of the mobile park to try to talk about being a better neighbor. I know they've talked about different trash and receptacle issues there. So I think we're doing all that we can. I'm respectful and mindful that possibly people that are near it don't feel like it's moving quick enough. I am respectful of that, and I understand that. We all want things to happen overnight. But this won't happen overnight, but this will continue, and we're going to continue to do as at least 3 offices, I would say 4 or 5 city offices, working on that mobile home. So I just want the commission and really the public to have some perspective on this as this issue continues to come before the commission over and over.
David,
Yeah.
who's responsible if one of them animals would get out up there at the trailer court and go over to the school and bite one of the
The
kids?
individual
over there?
owner, not the city.
Huh?
Not the city, the individual owner.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Jinks. Then how do you establish ownership of the animal?
Well, quite frankly, I don't know, and that's not our problem, but the city doesn't own the animal.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to think that I understand your position, I understand the legalities of this. But this didn't get this way overnight. This has been an ongoing problem. I understand, yeah, it takes time to get this taken care of. But in the same token, if these individual properties, like I've said before, were on private lots throughout the city of Madison and in this disrepair and shape that they're in, there would have been a lot quicker nuisance claims or whatever actions.
I'm not sure I agree with that. Ultimately, nuisance actions are very subjective, and they're a very high bar to prove up in court. And so we can't move against every property that needs to be painted or the roof's back. We can't do that. So I'm not sure that I agree with you that if these were on private lots, it would be any different. The city's in an inherently reactive position. I mean, we have to monitor these properties, we start to see these properties get bad, and then we have to deal with them, and that takes time. But I can assure you that we are, multiple offices of the city are, a substantial amount of time is being taken to try to remedy this.
Gentlemen, I have got Ryan and Jason with Woodbury who would like to speak. They were on, I muted them due to feedback. I'm going to ask them to unmute, okay?
Are you done, Mike?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Ryan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you, Mayor and Commission. And I didn't catch the gentleman's name that was standing. I believe that's the city attorney. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Thank you for those comments as well. And he stated a lot of what I was planning to state, so I won't circle back and restate that. But it does take time. We're working with Deputy Talish I believe, with the county on what the process is with those back taxes. I know one of them was sold at auction, but what is the legal process now? Is it county-owned property, or does it go back? A lot of those questions need to be answered. And just kind of reiterating what we said last time, it does take time, and as far as animals go, I think we maybe approved one dog since we've been up there, and I know there was a lot of animals that already existed prior to. But I appreciate what we have had for cooperation from the city and the county and trying to figure things out, and appreciate the time that we're being allowed just to try and get through things. It takes time. When Mr. Johnson built his twin homes there, I believe that the park was in far worse condition even yet, because we've made some strides to do some things and sent several letters out to tenants as well, most recently about eviction notices if they don't get certain things cleaned up. So we are trying. I've always told anybody if they want to talk to me one-on-one about it, I'm happy to do so as well. But I won't take up any more time, because I feel like we've talked about everything once already and now again. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Johnson, did you?
My turn again?
Yep.
Well, Bob brought up a point, that I hadn't gotten to yet is, we've got an elementary school next door, and we've got all these cats or animals running around. What do we do when they go over there? I guess, I have one question for you commissioners and mayor. How many of you have actually driven through the trailer park?
I grew up.
I did.
I mean, it's not something that I'd be proud of. And I understand it takes time, but it takes time to get to this point too. Things should have been, I guess, brought to attention before now. But I'm hoping we can get this problem solved, but, I hope the city doesn't end up forcing the residents in this area to take their own action, I want to work with people, but, the condition of this trailer court is, it's subpar, substandard. So, that's all I have. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mike, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but could you get me a list of what you would like to see happen up in that area? I mean, is it painting, fixing roofs, or what it is? And maybe we can help the park owners address it.
And one additional, Bert Moe would have been here. He got tied up. Austin Kessler, which is a resident, he would have been here. He had a football game. So, it's not just Mike Johnson that's having a problem.
Well, and if you would get together with all of them and just give us some sort of a list of what you guys would like to see, so that we can work with the trailer park and our attorney and maybe try to fix some of those things that are a nuisance. So.
Is Ryan unmuted?
Yes.
Ryan, do you have a number you could get one of us, or maybe provide tonight if people wanted to reach out to you or your associates?
Yeah, sir. If you wouldn't mind, I would prefer to email
Yep.
that versus having it in
Yep.
public minutes.
Yep. You bet. You bet.
But you're welcome to share it with anybody that calls in that has direct communications about the park.
Perfect.
Ryan, would you send that to all the commissioners, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Ryan, have you been working with Chad?
Have I been working with who? Sorry.
Chad, our engineer.
Yes, we have a conference call with Chad tomorrow at
Okay.
1 o'clock our time, so 2 o'clock yours.
Does he have your number?
Yes, he does.
I'll just get it from him and send it out to the commissioners,
Okay.
if that's okay with everybody. Okay. I will take care of that, Ryan.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yep. All right, thank you. Circling back to this waiving the fee dumps, is that something you guys would like on the agenda next week to talk about it, to see if that's something we would like to help out?
If we can get there, yeah. What steps?
Yep. Okay, I'll put it, Jen, you put that on the agenda for next week, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 2, acknowledge 2019 audit report. This one's Jen's.
All right, the first page of your packet tonight is a letter dated August 21st from the Department of Legislative Audit, accepting the audit report for year ended December 31st of 2019. Back on August 13th of 2020, Commissioner Shaw, Mayor Dennert, and myself met with Randy Shanefish, who is the head auditor there. I can quote Randy as saying we had a good audit. I can also probably talk to you about the whole audit document for about the next hour and a half. I will spare you of that. I will go through this audit document. I will talk through the highlights. I will entertain any questions, ask Commissioner Shaw and or Mayor Dennert for any feedback as they were part of this meeting. And we'll start there. Page through with me on this document then through the table of contents. And then pages 1 through 11. There are 11 pages of independent auditors reporting. I do want to direct your attention to page 8. For this year's audit, we did have one finding that required a corrective action plan. It's finding 2019-001, and again, that is on page 8. The corrective action and the finding were that expenditures were in excess of the amount budgeted in the fire department of the general fund. Okay, what happened here? I'm going to basically read my explanation here. A payment of $276,715 was made in April of 2018 for the purchase of a Freightliner fire truck. As the truck was not yet received at the end of 2018, a journal entry was accomplished to move the capital expense to a prepaid account. Can't build a fire truck. We order a fire truck. You can't build a fire truck in a year. It takes a good 2 years. Okay? So when the truck was received in September of 2019, a reversing journal entry should have been accomplished to move the expenditure back to the capital expense line item. That entry was not accomplished. It was done during the audit process. When it was discovered, it resulted in the overage of the fire department total budget, but it was after the supplemental budget was adopted. Okay? So therefore, while this oversight was not technically an over-expenditure of cash, it did cause an overage on the documents and the departmental budget, which warrants the finding. Okay? Bookkeeping, 1 year to the next year, it has been fixed, we're good to go. Moving forward, any questions on that? Moving on, then pages 12 and 13 are combined statements, combined governmental and business activities. We'll skip over those. Page 14 with me, please. In the past, gentlemen, I have been accused of racing through these documents and these exhibits. If I'm going too fast, please slow me down. Ask any questions as we go, please. So once again, on page 14, assets. First line item there are your assets. This is your balance sheet now for your governmental funds. Your cash and cash equivalents. Note the general fund is $6.1 million. Your second cent fund is $1.4 million, and your total government funds, cash and cash equivalents, are $9.8 million. Top line there. It details the rest of the assets there in the governmental funds, including your due from other governments, your special assessments receivable, to get to your total assets, the bottom line there on page 14. General fund, $7.3 million. Second cent fund, $1.6 million. And your total government fund, total assets of $11.5 million. Page 15 are your liabilities, deferred inflows, and fund balances. Your liabilities there include accounts payable and accrued wages payable. It then moves into your deferred inflows of resources, which includes property taxes and special assessments, and then it moves down into the fund balances categories. You will see different categories here, gentlemen. Non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, unassigned. Those are all categorized as per codified law. South Dakota codified law, all of your fund balances fit into a specific section, if you will. We all know Accounting 101 is that your assets must equal your total liabilities, deferred inflows, and resources and fund balances. Therefore, you will see that the $7.3 million of assets on page 14 equals your $7.3 million on the bottom of page 15. The same is true for your second cent fund there. Once again, you've got $1.6 million of liability, and your total governmental funds are at $11.5 million. Any questions on that balance sheet? Page 16 is a reconciliation. Page 17, statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances, once again for your governmental funds. Your revenues are on your top line there. Taxes are broken down into property taxes and general sales and use taxes. Note that your property taxes for fiscal year 2019 was $1.87 million in the general fund, and almost $335,000 in your swimming pool debt service fund. Sales and use tax, $1.7 million in your general fund, $1.7 million in your second cent fund, remembering that 2% is divvied 1% into general, 1% into second cent, therefore your numbers there are identical. Intergovernmental revenue, there your next section, look at that big dollar amount, $2.5 million in your federal grants. That's primarily your airport improvement funds, grant funds from the feds for the airport improvement projects, ongoing and the big construction project that we are in the midst of. Corresponding below there are your state grants, the 5% piece of the state grant. Goes on into charges for goods and services, fines and forfeits, miscellaneous. Look at your total revenue there. Governmental funds, total revenue for general fund is $7.6 million. For second cent is $1.7 million. And total governmental funds, total revenue, $10.3 million. Moves into your expenditures. These are departmentalized. General government is on the bottom of page 17. If you flip to page 18, you move into public safety, public works, and then eventually into your total expenditures. Again, general fund is $8.5 million of total expenditures, and your total government funds are $9.8 million worth of expenditures. Next section there, your other financing sources, your transfers in and your transfers out. 3 lines from the bottom. Net change in fund balances. If there's 2 lines in this entire document you need to look at and understand and remember, this is number 1. Your net change in fund balances for your governmental funds. A total, go way to the right there with me. Your total change is $287,000. And that is in $11.1 million worth of fund balance. You only had $287,000 worth of change. Very flat, gentlemen. Very flat. And very consistent to last year. Last year you had $271,000. If you look at some of those line items there, they should make sense based on a lot of the budget conversation that we have just recently had. Look at your community development fund. You're a negative $100,000. That is due to the transfer that you send to the community center every year. Your special maintenance fee fund, positive of $239,000. That's because we collect that all year from taxpayers, and we did not have any special maintenance fund projects for 2019. Any questions, governmental funds? Page 19 is a reconciliation. Page 20 will move you into the proprietary funds. These are our enterprise funds and funds that require user fees. So once again, we're looking at the same type of information. Your assets here for your proprietary funds, you've got the same cash and cash equivalents. $2.4 million of ending cash and cash equivalents in the water fund, 1.6 in the sewer fund, $3 million in electric, and total proprietary funds, cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year is $8.3 million. Note, halfway down there, non-current assets deposits in the water fund, $1.9 million. That is our investment, gentlemen, in the Lewis and Clark water system. That is how our investment that you talked about last week is booked on the financials on an annual basis. It's hanging out right there at $1.9 million. Total assets, $14.7 million in the water fund, $9.4 million in the sewer fund, and $17.6 million in the electric fund. Moves into your total deferred outflows. And then page 21 takes you into your liabilities. Once again, the same as the governmental document that we talked about. There's your accounts receivable and your accrued wages. Difference here are your non-current liabilities and your bonds payable. Look at that section there for your bonds payable, showing $6.8 million worth of bonds payable for fiscal year 2019. Once again, it moves down into your total deferred inflows, and at the bottom of the page there is your total net position for your proprietary funds. $12.3 million in the water, $6.5 million in sewer, $14.4 million in electric, and total of $34.8 million. Balance sheet, if you will, for governmental funds. Any questions? Moving on, page 22, statement of revenues, expenses, changes in fund net position. Here are your revenues and expenditures. Total operating revenue in each of your proprietary funds. Your total operating expenses in each of your proprietary funds. Your non-operating revenue and expense. That middle section there, you will see some pluses, some minuses, based on whether it's revenue or expense. Capital contributions, the $85,000 worth of capital contributions into the community center fund is the state's portion, DSU's portion of cash that goes into the community center every year. The transfers in, the 1065, is the city funds. Okay. The second most important line item for you to look at and remember in all of these is this line item here, your change in net position for your proprietary funds, a total of $2.3 million. Once again, in comparison, last year that was $2.7 million. So once again, very similar, very flat. Page 23, statement of cash flows. This is hardcore cash. This is cash and only cash in your enterprise funds. It does not contribute, does not account for any of the adjusting entries. This is flat out cash. So look at your bottom line there, your net increase, decrease in cash and cash equivalents. We'll show you the difference in cash, beginning to end, all of 2019. Page 25 is a breakdown of your fiduciary funds. That is your flex account money, the cafeteria flex account benefit that we have for the City of Madison employees. And then pages 26 start your notes to the financial statement. There is a ton of information. Mayor, commission, media, department heads, all staff. There's a ton of information in these notes to the financial statements. Tells you everything you want to know about the finances of the City of Madison. Once again, review, see me with any questions, anything I can explain. Quickly turn to page 38, which will give you changes in capital assets. Governmental balance as of the end of the year in capital assets is $24.3 million. Page 39, once again, your capital assets at the end of the year in the enterprise funds is $29.7 million. That number there will tie out to page number 20. Page 40, please. Construction work in progress. We have got a ton, as you are all aware, we have got a ton of projects in the works, totaling $11.8 million. Okay, there's a lot of projects, if you will, a handful of projects that are waiting on some retainage, different reasons why these are hanging out in construction in progress. Page 41 breaks down your long-term liabilities. What do we owe yet? What do we owe on our bonds and all of our long-term liabilities? Broken down in the primary government and then also your proprietary funds. 42, 43 is just a good listing, and 41, 42, and 43 is a really good listing of our long-term debt. What is due in the near future? What is due in years to come? Towards the tail end here, pages 53 through 64 are budget comparison sheets. How does all of this tie out to the budget? You can take a look at those. And finally, on page 65, this is the special audit. When we talk about the audit of federal awards, when you have more than $750,000 worth of federal awards, you are kicked into the special audit. Here it is, grand total of $2.5 million. I'm done talking. I will entertain any questions you have, now and in the future. 2019, gentlemen, is in the books, and we have started the process of 2020, starting with adjusting entries as we speak with year 2020.
Did you do a motion on that?
I would like, please, a motion to acknowledge.
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Thal.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Wire.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any comments or discussion? I guess I have one. I was looking through the claims for approval under the fire department. It's my understanding they asked for a donation of $15,000 a year from us for training. And I see in one of our bills we are getting charged $1,000 for a TV for training. I would like to see that. If it's used for training and we donate $15,000 to them, I don't see why they couldn't use that training money for that TV instead of through the budget.
You make whatever decision you want to. Please let me just comment that Randy did ask me about that, and the conversation we had was that the TV that he was needing to replace is also used for monthly safety meetings. It's the main TV in the main room there, so it is used citywide, if you will, for monthly training programs, employee banquet, whatever other types of employee-type meetings we may have in there.
I think the last training meeting meeting we had in there was last year, wasn't it? And we acknowledged our employees and had someone there talking about health, I do believe.
I can't tell you when the last safety meeting was, sorry. The $15,000 check to the fire department that is coded to professional services has been cut and delivered to them quite some time ago. We can adjust as needed.
Any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any? Take roll call vote.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Wire.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Nay. Not seeing anything under unfinished business, we'll move into new business. Jen, item number 1, adopt resolution number 2020-29, authorize the executive of the contractual document for the recipient of CARES Act fund.
Yes, here we go finally with our CARES Act funds. This is the resolution as handed down to us, if you will, from the state of South Dakota. Just a few comments here. That very first paragraph there with your whereas talks about how the state of South Dakota has received federal funds that may only be used to cover costs that are necessary expenditures due to the public health emergency called COVID-19. These expenditures have not been accounted for in the budget approved on March 27th, so whatever budget is in place during March 27th, and also that these were incurred during the period that begins on March 1st and ends on December 30th. Moving down into the be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Madison may execute all documents, request for any reimbursement. Same criteria as above, the request for reimbursement has to meet that criteria, and that the city will not request reimbursement for costs that were previously received under other reimbursement. An example of that, which we are working on carving out and calculating, are the public safety funds that we receive for the highway safety grant. We get some overtime, some hourly that we get, that's part of our grant funds already. We have to carve those out and we have to show documentation of the same. Need from you this evening, gentlemen, please, is to adopt this resolution 2020-29 so that I can begin my submittal process into the Bureau of Finance and Revenue. Any questions that I can answer, please?
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2020-29, authorize the execution of contractual document for receipts of CARES Act fund?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Is there any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call vote?
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Wire.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Mayor Dennert.
Aye. Item number 2 is Jen, authorize the mayor to sign reimbursement agreement, South Dakota Bureau of Finance and Management, local government COVID recovery fund.
All right, this is document number 2 required for me to get my process started. This is a form fillable file as received from the state of South Dakota. No deviation from this. It is a reimbursement agreement. The first couple pages reflect a lot of the same verbiage that was in the resolution that you just adopted. States that the subrecipient, who is us, the City of Madison, will submit to the state reimbursement requests along with all supporting documentation. Moving on into this agreement, page 3, it talks about the time frame, March 1st through December 30th. As with anything else, it talks about compliance and laws. Letter C there talks about the uniform grant guidance. Once again, we just talked about that as part of the audit process. That's if you get more than $750,000 in federal funding, you have to comply with the single audit requirements. That is our notice of that, if you will, along with any other agreement. There's indemnification verbiage, termination verbiage, state's right to approve subcontractors. This is a very long agreement, along with an attachment and an exhibit to once again allow us to move forward with the reimbursement process. This is document number 2. The third document that I must upload before I can submit anything is a risk assessment. We have got that risk assessment on file that is required for any grant that we apply for. So the same document will be used there. Any questions that I can answer on this document, please, gentlemen?
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a reimbursement agreement, South Dakota Bureau of Finance and Management, Local Government, COVID Recovery Fund?
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Wire?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner? Aye. Commissioner Thill?
Aye.
Mayor Denner?
Aye. Item 3, Brad, authorize the mayor to sign service agreement, Utilismart Corporation, meter data management.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You should have in your packet the Utilismart agreement. We looked at this, I think this was version 4 that we finally made it through, that we all agreed on, and have it here for you, including Schedule A, which talks about the fees, and Schedule B, the service level and customer support, all inclusive. This is for the meter data management. This is the hub that we talked about at the other meeting, one of the most prior meetings, where the information from the meter reading system comes into this hub, and this hub spits it out to all the different other players that are part of this AMI system, so that they can have the information that they need. And so this is a contract to provide those services. This is a 5-year term.
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign service agreement, Utilismart Corporation, meter data management?
So moved.
I'll second.
Brad, these amounts here, were they in that $737,000 that we agreed on?
The $737,000 was for the initiation of all of the different components, and this, a part of this was in there, yes.
What part was in it?
I took the average of the 5 years, which was $63,000. I think I put $60,000 in the letter, approximately $60,000 in the letter at the time when we were working, trying to negotiate this to a final close, that we were going to be at $60,000 a year for this one. So some of those are annual fees, and some of those are one-time fees, and you got to try to package up in a 5-year agreement. How much is it going to cost you per year? It depends on which way you look at it. When we were sitting in the meeting, that's why David was asking me what number should we put in there when we were sitting in the meeting that night, was because the numbers, the initiation fees are a little bit higher, the annual costs are a little bit lower, but over the life of the 5-year project, it comes out to $63,000 a year.
So the pilot fee wasn't in this, $737,000?
Yes, that was, it was averaged out.
Well, I'm looking at phase 1 here.
Right.
The total pilot fee, grand total of $85,000.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm not following where that is on your, in that $73,000.
It's a part of the component, I don't have that breakdown right here in front of me, but it's part of the component of that entire amount. And again, it's, we have some, if you will, wiggle room on that amount. We knew when we signed these up that this was gonna be somewhat variable depending on how soon we get meters put in and how soon we bill it. So it's there's kind of a crapshoot to get the exact amount. So we shot for the average of 60,000 a year. It's gonna be about 63,000 a year on average.
So I see on phase 2 here, they went $3,893 for a month,
Yes,
and then I see they got a typo here.
Yes.
I'm assuming that should be a 12-month service term
that is correct.
and a 60-month service term.
That is correct.
Is there a reason why we have to go with a 5-year? It's not saving us any money.
Typically, you have such an investment in this that, you know, from our perspective, we want to go for a longer term so that we can get some of our money back on the initial initiation fees. If we go a shorter term, then initiation fees become a higher percentage of the overall cost, and it's less efficient for us from a financial standpoint.
So either way, they're gonna get you. I mean, you're either gonna pay a higher premium in the beginning if you're shorter, or you can spread that over 5 years.
I guess I'm not still following on the 60. I understand you approximated the 60 out. Where did you get that from?
If you take the 223,580 and you add it to the 85,281 and divide it by 5.
Okay, there you go. Now I understand.
That's where my math came from, which was different than what David wanted. David wanted to approve the 85, but then we would go from 85 down to 44 or something like that. And then the numbers, when you get to the end of the deal, you still have the same amount, the 313,000 or whatever it is that it comes out to. So that's where, it depended on which way you did the math. I did it one way, David did it another, and I guess I tried to look at the all-in cost and what the average was per year for budgeting purposes. So that's the way I was looking at it. David was looking at it, what's it going to cost us the first year.
That's what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
You were adding the 233
Yes.
plus the 85. Okay.
If I may, just to make sure that everybody is comfortable, when we brought these requests for proposals, when Brad brought these to you back on September 14th, part of your motion, after we took a time out and we looked and we tried to get all of these numbers to come out, part of your motion was meter data management system to UtiliSmart for a first-year cost of approximately $60,000 and an annual cost of approximately $47,500. So as long as you're comfortable with that and budgetarily, that's what you approved back in September, please.
And I should have made it that there was the first year was 85,000, and that's my mistake. I apologize for that.
Nope,
It's-
I wanted to know where that was coming.
I'll
No,
own that one because David said we should do that, and I thought, well, let's do it on the average, and so then I messed it up. So I'll take the hit on that one. We did talk with them from a budgetary standpoint. They are willing to split this up in the different fiscal years for us so that it doesn't exceed our current budget. I did look at some cash today and some analysis of our current position, and it appears that, at least from the electric side, and I believe that with the interim financing, that the water and sewer have become more solvent with their cash situation. So we would have adequate fees to cover this regardless of how we wanted to do it. We would have to, in theory, supplement the budget, or at least supplement the authorization to spend the money if we did it all in this year. But these people are willing to split this up so that it falls into the proper fiscal years for the budgetary process. So we did work with them on that.
any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Wire?
Aye.
Commissioner Thel?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Mayor Denner?
Aye. Item 4, authorize the mayor to electronically sign subrecipient certification for small project and completed work, Cat B, emergency protective measures, project title, AppCert, Cat B, emergency protective work, project number 134719, FEMA 2019 September flood, application number 4469DR-SD. This is the Cat B that covers emergency work from the flood, overtime and comp only, no regular time, and it includes equipment used for flood evacuation and emergency work. Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to electronically sign subrecipient certification for small project with completed work, Cat B, emergency protective measures, project title, AppCert, Cat B, emergency protective work, project number 134719, FEMA 2019 flood, September flood, application number 4469DRSD.
So approved.
Second.
Any further comments on that? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Thel?
Aye.
Commissioner Wire?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner?
Aye.
Mayor Denner?
Aye. Item 5 is mine also. Approve the city's contact information for FEMA. We have lightened Kristen's plate a little bit, and we are having Roxy help with the FEMA. And we needed to put her on for the primary contact. Kristen still alternate contact. And we had Chad on for an alternate contact for the walls that we are looking at needing to repair. So basically, it's just a formality to move Roxy up so she can help out with this. So, do I have a motion to approve city contact information for FEMA?
So move.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? Not. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Thel?
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Wire?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner? Mayor?
Aye. Item 6. Brad or Jen wanted to start on declare as surplus property, appoint appraisers, and set bid date of October 28th. Bid number 897, aluminum, copper wire, miscellaneous pole hardware, and cross arm. Do you want to start? Okay.
Every year we do these upgrade projects, we end up with a lot of scrap, if you will, and it's primarily bits and pieces that have come off of either our utility poles, off of the customers' houses, and then when we put the wire up into like the transformers and that, we have a little bit extra wire all the time so you have enough, and we usually try to leave enough in the bottom, so we put a loop in the bottom, so if we have to raise that transformer, we've got enough wire there. Then they cut the tail off, and we have these tails that are 2 foot, 3 foot in length, and they get thrown in this container. We need to surplus those and get rid of them for this year. In the past, nobody's shown any interest in it. We've had a heck of a time just getting rid of it. And this year we had a gentleman that wants to bid on it, so we opened it up for bids. If we're looking for a value, I'd recommend that we put in a fairly reasonable value, significant value if we could. I was thinking something along the lines of the $2,000 mark as a appraised value.
Do I have a motion to declare as surplus property, appoint appraiser, and set bid date of October 28th. Bid number 897, aluminum, copper wire, miscellaneous pole hardware, and cross arm.
Got
I'll
a
make-
question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make
Oh,
a,
okay.
I'd like to make a motion with the value of 2,000, Brad?
Yes.
Is that we,
The
no?
motion should not be made with that value, in my opinion. That's why we're appointing appraisers. Unless I'm not understanding something, the motion would be to just set the bid date and appoint the appraisers to set the value.
That's how we've done it in the past, if that's okay, and then we'll fill this in if you, as appraisers, agree with Brad. Correct, Mr. Attorney?
That's what I prefer.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's what the law requires.
Thank you. So same motion, no value.
No value, correct.
Second?
Okay. Any further comments or discussion?
One thing, we talked about it, that one thing we wanted to add to this was the fact that the container has a lot of different stuff in it. We wanted the container completely empty. In other words, all material contained in the container must be removed as part of this bid.
And that is in the notice here. Materials shall not be oh, wait a minute. Successful bidder will be responsible for loading and hauling the items.
I think we want to say
All items.
all
I
items in the
didn't change
container.
that. We're going to change that before we publish it. All items.
Yes,
Thank you, Brad.
yes.
So you buy it, you got it.
You own it all.
Oh,
Okay. Any other comments, discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner? Aye. Commissioner Wire?
Aye.
Commissioner Thill?
All right.
Mayor Denner?
Aye. Update on COVID. Commissioner Shaw, do you have any?
It's, obviously, it's continuing to increase at a pretty rapid rate. Unfortunately, I think we're maybe realizing that we do have a pandemic going on in South Dakota right now. So, obviously, wearing a mask is vitally important, and even that doesn't fully protect you. But I also care about the health and welfare of people, and we're just trying to keep people safe. So.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
Jim Casanova, come on up.
I just want to know what reason there's a holdup is. You know, the city's got free use of 2 units from Gale, doing a super job, and all of a sudden it stopped.
Right.
The weather's dry, are they waiting for rain or what?
Nope, we're waiting to get the last paperwork from DENR.
Why didn't we have that 3 months ago?
At that point, what I'm understanding was, we had our ducks in a row, but we're just covering all our bases, make sure we're properly cleaning that correct.
Years ago, back after 2012 flood, up by 9th Street, they took 22 loads out and they had no permits up there. Memorial Creek is no different, just mud in there. I'm just wondering, now you have different people would ask me, I said, come to the meeting, maybe you'll listen to somebody down here, but if Chad's holding it up, I think the commissioner should get on Chad's butt a little bit.
No, Chad isn't holding it up,
Well, who's holding it up?
waiting for DENR.
Well, I think maybe you ought to just ask them, hey, it's dry, before it starts raining. You can't do things when it rains. Well, I appreciate you guys doing a little more checking in it, because this is a dry year and it should be getting taken care of before the snowballs. So,
Okay, I'll
Thank
check
you.
with Chad, see where that is. Any announcements?
I wanna make sure we thank Mike, the park that they put in is just about wrapped up and it looks extremely nice. I know they've been over there for the last week or so putting it in, and I happened to drive by it today, and what a neat deal for kids, so. I know the Parks Department has really worked hard on that, so.
They're
thank you to
putting
them.
their final touches to it today and tomorrow, so.
Really looks good.
I have one more question. What are they surveying on Ninth Street today? Do you know about?
No, I don't.
Well, that guy, I asked him what they were doing, he said it's for, the project on Ninth Street, and I said, well, that isn't until 2022. He said, I suppose we'll have to come back and do it over again. They got it all marked out, water, sewer, gas company and everything. From Egan West. There's 3 of them guys up there today.
I can check on that and get back to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, my neighbor said, well, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I just asked that guy, and he said, that's for the new construction coming up. I told that guy it isn't for 2 years, for a year and a half.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate it, Dan.
Okay.
Thanks.
Not a problem. Do I have a motion to go into exec session?
So,
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. See you on the other side, Mike.